welcome to the Educated Edibilista, where we create, heal, and have fun with cannabis.
Hey guys.
You're here with Mary and Jane. So what are we talking about this episode?
We are talking about the anatomy of weed and the differences between THC and CBD.
All right.
Lots of acronyms here today.
So, I'm not a big gardener. Actually, I love plants outside, but
Same.
Can't really grow weed outside where I live. So I've never done that. So learning about the plants has been pretty cool. And also, I had no idea how pretty they could be.
Oh my goodness, yes. The one you saw at the farm was amazing.
Yeah, I thought, they were just like green, everything green, but there are ones that have like purple and orange, and they're so pretty. But, okay, guys, pretty's cool, but let's figure out what the heck is actually in them.
Yeah, well, and I have to side note here, I did not realize that they could get as big as what they were. I mean, that was over your head, like well over your head.
Yeah,
I had
no idea. Yeah, because my dad was a huge pothead, and he would grow literally in a wine barrel in his bedroom. So it was like very short. So I was always like, oh, they're just like little plants. But no, they can get huge. Like you can train them, I guess, to be smaller.
Oh, wow.
And certain strains are smaller and stuff. Right.
And that's something for another episode.
Yes, we'll be covering all that. I'm kind of excited to learn you can make bonsai. I want to learn how to do that.
Okay.
That is super cool.
That is super cool and super zen. I love bonsai.
Yeah, so we're going to try that. We are actually going to try to grow. We're going to do a whole video series on that because we have never done
another episode.
any of this. So that's going to be interesting. But let's talk about, first of all, there are basically two types of plants. There's actual weed cannabis and there's hemp. And they are different.
Correct.
Yeah. So
two species
they look the same. You would only know the difference by testing it.
And you want to make sure you're testing the one you think you're testing, right?
Yeah, so the difference, basically, weed and hemp, so there's like literally a federal law. Hemp can only have less than 0.3% THC. THC is the part that gets you high.
Yes.
Which is what most people think.
You need to make sure you know that, right?
Yeah, they think gets you high. Hemp doesn't get you high, or not as high anyway. I think we have felt stuff when we have used hemp. I guess I've never smoked hemp, but I don't know.
And that's good. Talking about future episodes.
We're going
on tangents here, but that's okay. Delta 8, that will be another episode that is produced from hemp.
And it's basically legal weed.
Yes.
Like everywhere, there are a couple states that have made some rules, but basically it's legal throughout the country.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of called pot light. From what I read, it's considered to be like 50% less of the psychoactive effect versus Delta 9, which is THC. So if you have not seen a weed plant, a cannabis plant in person,
most of us haven't.
Right, most of us haven't. The flower or bud is the part that contains the goods, the THC, and those are produced only by female plants. So if
ladies.
If you get into growing, you're going to want to know that, obviously.
Yes.
But if you'd like to get more into the botanical details of a cannabis plant, there
like all the leaves and all those things.
Really fascinating. It'll take you back to like high school biology. But there will be links on our website and in our guide that you can subscribe to and that we will send out to you, and has a lot of awesome resources. So science is your jam, botany is your jam. You should definitely check it out.
Yeah. And then there's so much, everyone just thinks about THC, but so there are cannabinoids. So we can talk about the whole, how it works with your body in another episode.
Yes.
But basically you have cannabinoid receptors in your body and the weed reacts with those. So THC is what most people think of, and the other side is CBD, which does not give you a high, has tons of medical and medicinal properties that affect everything. Obviously, guys, we're not doctors, we're not lawyers, all of that, full disclaimer thing. But those are the two main things that people think about. And CBD, I think, is having a huge moment right now.
I feel like everywhere you go, there's a sign saying we sell CBD products.
Yeah,
gummies,
and they're putting it in everything. Yeah. So that is kind of more, I think, if you're scared of stuff, starting with CBD and figuring out what it actually does with your body and what it can help with. I think that's a great spot to learn.
Yeah.
So those are two, but there are actually over 100 cannabinoids in cannabis plant.
Which is crazy.
It really is. And so they are doing a lot of research to see what, each of them do. I think there's about 8 to 10 that are kind of the main ones that are most prevalent, and our guide does go over all of that. And we're going to have a whole video on cannabinoids and terpenes, which I had never heard of until we started this.
Nope.
What? So terpenes...
See, we're learning right along with you guys.
We really are. It's crazy how much that I didn't know. Like, oh my gosh. So anyway,
really fascinating.
Terpenes are basically, if you think of like wine and different grapes and flavors.
And the notes,
and
like the tasting
smelly,
notes. Right.
Like, yeah. Terpenes are the same thing in weed. So you can actually get things that don't just smell like skunk. Another thing that I always thought, it just all smells horrible.
Right.
Yeah,
but now we know that's not the case.
Yeah. So when we get into our recipes and stuff, that's going to be really cool to kind of pair things, especially with drinks, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so pay attention.
One thing I would love for you guys to leave in the comments for us is if you have had any experiences with CBD, if you've used it, how you've benefited from it. I know it's frequently used to help with stress and anxiety. And there are a lot of pet products that contain CBD as well. So if you've used them for yourself or for your pets, we would love to hear about that and just,
and we're going to show you guys some stuff that we're using too, but we'd love to hear because there's so many products coming out and so many hemp farms, especially for CBD in our area, with really cool products we're going to show you guys and even try some stuff that we haven't even opened yet. So
it's like an unboxing.
Cool. Yeah. I love.
Yes.
Want to go talk THC?
Yes.
And then I'll do CBD.
That sounds fantastic. Perfect. So as we alluded to earlier, or you probably already know, THC is the cannabinoid in the marijuana strain of the cannabis plant, and that is the psychoactive compound that will get you high. So, traditionally THC is used for recreation as well as medical uses, medicinal uses, and perhaps you or someone does use marijuana medicinally. And we'll talk about in a future episode, ways that one would acquire marijuana, but certainly for the medicinal uses, if that's legal in your state, you have to have a card in order to access that. Another thing with marijuana is, as Mary was saying earlier, the terpenes are kind of like the flavor or scent profile, I guess, in this case. Right. It doesn't, there are different strains, sativas, indicas, and hybrids, and they all have their own terpene profiles. So, as you, if you choose to start exploring down this avenue, you're going to encounter lots of different ones that don't all smell just one way, which is, I think, what a lot of us think. And they don't all act
for, like, if we took the same thing, we may feel different things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so tracking, I think, has been important for me, like, especially because I'm using for sleep. Like, if I'm not sleeping, I don't want to continue using it. So I need to track what did I do that night, all of that stuff.
Right. Yeah. And on strains, the sativas are typically known for more of an energizing
which I have
effect. Which, Mary would not want that if she's trying to sleep. Indicas, on the other hand, are more relaxing, and you can remember that indica in the couch because you're not going to be like super motivated to go out and run a marathon probably. But more commonly, there are hybrids, which are combinations of indicas and sativas. And so there's a lot of, room to try things out and see what works for you. And of course, knowing that everybody's body is going to react differently to different things. So, what affects you in one way may not affect me the same way. So there's just a lot.
Interesting going forward as, we're finally getting states that it's legalized. And for me, it's how are they labeling stuff? And so how will I know? And I think so far I found some companies like really do. And so I know it's an indica, I know it's a sativa, I know, the profile, how much CBD, how much THC, that stuff.
Real life here, folks. Real life. See, we're real people. We are real people.
So for me, I'm like kind of looking at that, and I don't know if there's going to be like state laws. I mean, we're in a state where it's just kind of become legal to use it, not to buy it or sell it.
Correct.
So there's really not guidelines for labeling and that stuff. So it really is important. I think if you want to really educate yourself, and the way that we're doing everything is to really take notes and, you know, where did I get it? What is it? What do they say it is? And how did it make me feel? You know, depending on what you're trying to treat or not treat, you're, you know, just have fun, and that's fine too. But like the sativa, I never thought like, wait, weed can like give me energy,
right?
And, like,
because
make me.
You're right. That's not the impression that most people would have.
Yeah.
You know, you think it's going to just kind of make you like, you know.
Yeah. And so it's been interesting trying those, and I actually have a strain I'm going to show you guys on a video that has been amazing. Like, it doesn't affect my thoughts. So, you know, normally I'm just using to go to sleep, but sometimes I'll do a little beforehand just to see. Again, if I'm sleeping, I don't really know how it's making me feel.
Exactly.
You know? So trying a little earlier just to see, and I've loved the way that I still have a thought process. It's not affecting, you know, my train of thought, which derails 70 times a day as it is, so I don't need that getting worse. So yeah, it's been interesting.
Yeah, it's really fascinating once you start to
yeah.
learn that it's not just like one thing, which I think is what so many people in our generation particularly, that's what you thought it was. It's one thing and it has one effect and it smells this way and makes you feel this way, and it's not really. And now people are like making hybrids to do specific things, you know, to get a higher CBD content or CBN or CBG, all these cannabinoids, you know, based on what they are trying to experience or trying to change or affect with their body and stuff. So it's becoming very interesting, which is I just love looking at new stuff. Okay. So keeping that notebook will be very beneficial until we see, you know, where things head in terms of labeling standards and testing, like laboratory testing.
Exactly, yeah. So CBD is from hemp. Marijuana plants also have CBD. And again, there's different levels. So depending on what you want, lower THC, higher CBD, or lower CBD, higher THC, and all these other things.
No THC at all.
THC at all, yeah, which may be where you're starting. So therapeutic effects, medicinal effects. I think a lot of people are learning more about CBD faster because it's not
more
controlled, and it's in a lot of products, especially for pets and stuff. So that is, you know, I think somewhere to start learning if you are scared of stuff. You know, it has really good. I have so many people right now have been doing it for what I started smoking for. Not smoking, but using weed is for sleeping and anxiety and just chilling. And it's really nice because you don't have to worry about getting high and all of that stuff.
Right.
And, you know, straight CBD products don't have any THC versus Delta 8, which do have some tiny amount of THC, which may not give you that high, but if you're worried about drug testing and stuff like that, will show up.
Right.
So if you're worried about that, CBD is definitely where to start.
And as Mary said, you know, as you are consuming products, be looking at the labels, and if it does have a label, which hopefully it does, if it doesn't, you might be a little leery of that, but just to see kind of what the percentages are so you know that you're getting what you want to get.
Yeah. And we'll go over how much you should start with and all of that in another video. And of course, our guide, get that, guys. It's free and it goes over all this stuff. And we're going to have a ton more info. So
like and subscribe.
Yes, please do that. Follow our channel, guys, and share with other ladies that you think might want to learn about this stuff.
Yes, particularly of the middle-aged persuasion, because we feel like that's where we are, and we feel like that's where we can be of the most service.
Exactly. So thanks for joining us, episode 2. And we'll be back for episode 3. I forget what it is.
You just have to come back and find out.
My thought derailed there. There we go. So we will see you next time.